Cool. Go for it, Josh. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. My shame will live into eternity. So the focal points of this talk are going to be Phoenix LiveView, obviously, and test-driven development. So the first part of this talk, we are going to together and in a live coding kind of way, because it's my first talk. I figured I might as well try the most error-prone way of giving a talk. So we're going to do that together. And I really do mean together. I hope like folks join in and tell me what's going on and help me, fix typos, maybe even prevent typos. And then after we do those first couple of things, I was thinking we could just riff off that kind of, if someone's interested in doing anything that they can think of, just throw the idea out. I have like a list of some feature ideas that we could do, but would very much rather do what you all want to do after I do these two little basic things. So the goals that I have going throughout this talk are that it be informal. So, I'm going to try to explain things in a way that's like not super in-depth technical, but also like, it has to be technical to some degree. And I want folks to, feel comfortable like interrupting and asking questions at any point. And I want it to be beginner friendly. So if I ever need to expand or explain something, please let me know and I'll try to do that to the best of my ability. And if I can't, I'm sure somebody else on the call might be able to. And then collaborative, that's more towards the latter half. So I'm hoping, like I said, folks can help me out in figuring out ideas and we can work on something together and interactive. So I'll get more to interactive in a bit, but for now it will be interactive. So the starting point for what we're going to be building on is this app that I built just with the regular old Phoenix.new command, and it's called TVP LVD. It's a super hard word to say. I don't know why I did that to myself, but it stands for test-driven Phoenix LiveView development. And I couldn't think of anything more clever. So that's where we're starting out, except for I've done like, I made a few little tweaks here and there to get it to a place where it'll be nicer for our purposes. Okie dokie. So with that all said, that's the end of the part of my talk that is a talk. So we're gonna just start live coding. And now I'm going to ask again, can folks see my terminal okay? Does this look all right?
No.
It doesn't, because
I don't think you're sharing a screen.
You're totally right. Okay, so now that I've actually shared my screen, does the text render in a way that's legible?
Yeah, on my side it does.
Okay, great. I'll assume that's the royal yes then, and that it works for everyone. So I have a server going over here. It's just a heads up. One thing that I wanted to do was to, like I said, make this interactive. And in order to make that interactive, I have a little URL to share with you all that you can go to so that you can mess around with the site as we build it. So I'm just gonna, I think I have to stop sharing to go to the chat. One sec. Let me just get this thrown in here. Thanks. I like this hat. It's my favorite hat. All right. So if folks go to that link, you should be able to see the site. If you don't, now would be a good time to let me know, because I can try to restart it and send a different link.
I can see the site. Can others see?
Yeah, I can see the site.
All right, great. So then let's kick things off. So like I said, this tool is just like bare bones right now. This is the page live view. I've got 3 files open here in Vim. I'm a Vim user. So.
Josh, I think you stopped sharing your screen for the chat. So yeah.
All right. Did I mention I have a all right, let's see here. How about now?
Great. Also, your video, if you care, we cannot see your face, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you care about that.
Video. I think this
Okay,
is more important than the face.
go for it.
All right, great. So as you can see, we got the live view right here, or the template right here. It's got all that amazing text that I threw in there that you can probably see if you went to that URL. We've got a very bare bones page live view, and live view. Sorry, it's a difference. And then I've got a test here because this is going to be a talk that's really centered around, I think, TDD and how we can use that to write our live view functionality. So without further ado, I'm going to make sure that my tests are in a state that I expect them to be, and they are 3 whole tests, and none of them are failing, which is great. So I guess the first goal that I have is for us to implement a little incrementer button that's gonna just show up on the live page. So when we go here, oops, wrong browser. When we go to the site, we're gonna see a button. It's gonna say something in it. Maybe you guys can help me with the text, and we'll make it do stuff. The first one, actually, not stuff. It's gonna just increment. We'll isolate it to just doing that. And like I said, TDD means test driven. So we're gonna write the test first. So let's see here. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to say it renders a button. What do we want the text to be on the inside? I can make it increment for now, but if anybody has any really great ideas for the name of an incrementer button, speak now. But what it's going to do is it's going to render a button that has a value associated with the button that when you click on it, it's going to increase that value or increment that value by 1 click. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to include the connection in this test, because we're going to be testing that the connection behaves as we expect it to when we pass it to this live method. And we're basically going to take the first part of this other test that we've got written here already. I'm just going to call this the view, and the disconnected HTML. I'm actually not going to use that at all. So I'm just going to throw that in there. The underscore before the variable, for folks that don't know, just means that we're not using it. It's not going to give you an error or anything if you don't do that. It's just best practice. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assert that the element, there's like a value element on the page. So the way that we can do that is live view test, which I think I have open here. So yeah, here we are. So live view test here, we're going to be making heavy use of. There's a has element method that can take in a view and basically a DOM identifier and let you know
Josh,
can
you increase the font size
of
that
so
page?
Sorry.
No
Yeah,
problem.
my screen is probably microscopic. Let me do that real quick. All right, is that better?
Yeah, better for me.
Okay, great. So yeah, we're just going to use the this is the element helper, but you can pass an element or you can pass a view and some DOM identifiers to the has element helper right here is the one we're going to use first. And it checks to see if the given element, the element that you're specifying, is on the page. So we're going to do something that looks a lot like this. So let's assert has element. We're going to pass the view as the first argument to this. And then the next one's going to be a DOM identifier. Any thoughts for what we should call this? Count. I'm going to call it the value, maybe, to be super creative. And I'm going to say that we could probably want it to start off at 0 if nobody's clicked on it. So that's going to test to see whether or not our view renders a value to the page. The other thing that we want to do, as per our test, is see that it renders the button that we're going to be updating to be able to increment. So for that, I'm going to do button, little octothorpe here means the ID. So, all right. Anybody want to give me the ID for the button?
Button.
Button. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Great. So that button is going to have text, and now's the time to change it. Has anybody thought of anything good? Could be increment right now, but any other ideas? Adi, I'm going to pick on you again.
You could just use a plus sign.
All right, plus sign it is. All right, great. Thanks for saving me from carpal tunnel. So plus sign it is. Great. So now I'm just going to run these tests. And what that's going to do is hopefully fail. I mean, I really hope it fails. I'll be really confused if it doesn't. Hey, it does. So for folks that, darn, this background doesn't look very good for this line, but it's not the most important part of it. For folks that haven't written a lot of tests, they're really useful. This test is basically saying, you know, what we're testing, which is that string that I just wrote, and then the ways in which it has failed. So basically the view that we're checking on, we were expecting for it to have like a DOM ID with an ID, the value, and a value of 0, a text value of 0, but it didn't have any of that. It got false when it tried to check for that. So now we're going to practice, you know, red-green refactor. We're going to go back to our code and we're going to make it work. So anybody have any ideas on how we should get a value onto the page? All right, well, section class, let's call it, maybe we'll just steal the Phoenix 0 class again. So it makes that big gray section. And then as a test to see that this is still rendering to the live site, if you're on that URL that I sent, you should see, I think, kind of an empty gray box underneath the one that was there originally. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. All right. So that's still working. Just wanted to make sure. So we've got this here. Let's give it, you know, let's make it an H2 so it's pretty legible. We'll give it that ID of, you know, the value. And let's say, you know, first test that I usually write is like, you know, what's the dumbest possible thing I could write to get the test to pass? 0 is probably that, in my opinion. So I'm gonna make it pass, and then we'll update it to, you know, make it pass in a way that actually fits the bill. So we've got this, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add another section down here. This time I don't want that gray background because I don't want to call too much attention to it. Let's just make it a row. Phoenix ships with Milligram. It's like a CSS framework that's minimal, and they have like a grid system. We're not going to be going too much into Milligram unless folks are good with it and want me to, but I think the focus of this isn't on CSS, so I wasn't planning on it. And then we're going to throw this into a column into this row. And we are going to throw, you probably guessed it, a button. We're going to give it an ID of button. And we're going to give it some text. And that text will be a plus sign. So if I save this and write it, our tests are passing. That's pretty great, right? So the test told me what to do. I added some CSS here, and some HTML, and we've got it working. Well, we've got the test passing. That doesn't mean it's working. So now let's get the button working, actually. So we're going to modify our test a little bit so that it's a little bit more useful. What we actually want to do is that we want to say, not just that something's rendered. We want to say that, like, the user can click on a plus button, or let's call it the plus button so that they're not multiple on the page. And when they do that, and a corresponding value is incremented, right? Still going to pass the connection in because we're going to need that. The live views need the connection. But I think that I'm not going to use the HTML. Again, I'm just going to kind of leave it like this. The first part of this is not going to change, right? We still want to make sure that our view has that element and that it starts off at 0. So that's great. We get to keep that part. The second part of this, though, we can say that it has this element, and like that's not a bad test. But what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to convert this into more of a twofer kind of test. So let's say that this view, I'm going to pass it into the element method, which instead of, it's another helper given by the LiveView test. The element method, unlike the hasElement method, just converts something to an element and not, it's not like a Boolean check for the element. So it takes very similar arguments though. So we're going to say it's the element on the page that is, well, I can just actually literally crib everything that I took here, I think. So it's the button element. It's got a plus text. So now I can work with this button. And what I want to do when I say work with this button is I want to render click, which is another helper that Phoenix Live Test gives us. And just to show that real quick so that you can see. All right, so render click here takes in, a view and an element, and hey, this is an incrementer, and they're checking for the temperature, but you can check against text. So I'm going to do that same thing. When I render the click, I'm not going to test the page for that value in that way. I do like the has element as a way to test things, just because it's a nicer error to me when I see it. So I'm going to check to see that the value in now should have 1. So that reads pretty nicely, right? We've got like a value on the page. We click a button with an ID of button with the text of plus, and we expect that to change the value that we checked above that had 0 to now have 1. So
you probably want to assign view to the updated view.
Oh, you're right. I do want to do that. Actually, you know what I'll do? No, you're right. I'll do that. Thank you, Adi. Yeah, that'll work. The other way to do this is you can, like the doc said, you can use a regular expression to match against the HTML that's rendered. So now that we have this, we can check that the value is 1. I'm going to test. And look at that. Phoenix is, the tests are now going to tell us how to write the code that we want it to write in the first place. As long as we're trying to do it with Phoenix Live, right? So it's saying that our button doesn't have a Phoenix click attribute. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our button, and I'm going to add a Phoenix click attribute. And what should I add for this?
Increment.
Hey, yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't really give it a hint. So these are bindings to like events. So when you click, it'll like basically fire an event. And so Adi's suggestion is increment. I think that's pretty apt. So we're going to throw increment in there. And now we're going to, our button has a Phoenix click attribute now. So let's run the test again. Hey, so it's telling us now that our live view is trying to call this like handle event callback, but either it's undefined or it doesn't have, or it's not defined in a way that it accepts the arguments that it's being passed, which are increment, an empty struct or map, and a socket. So what I'm going to do is get that test to pass now. So I'm in my live view. this is an implementation of a callback. So we're going to do impl true. I'm going to call handle event. And we know that it needs to be able to respond to increment, the event that we threw in our Phoenix click. It's going to take like some session parameters if we want to. It's not going to need them this time. So I'm just going to do that to say that I know that an argument's coming in, but I don't need it. So just don't worry about it. And then the last thing I'm going to throw in here, which I do care about, is the socket. So like I said, let's do maybe the dumbest thing that we can do first, which in my opinion is probably, oops, been writing too much Ruby today, is probably just not doing anything at all, right? Getting it to respond to that. So I'll do that. And hey, it's telling me that it expected to that like method that I wrote to return either one of these scenarios. But it didn't, it just returned nothing. So let's return something. So let's say that the socket returns no reply and the socket itself, because we're not going to do anything fancy yet. I'm just going to get this test to pass. So now I have this passing, and now this test should look a little bit more familiar. It's checking that view that we had. It's getting past that click now. So before in our test, it was getting to here, it was trying to render that click, that was trying to call this method, it was failing at that point. But now it's like, okay, the click is working, it's not crashing our site. But this now is not passing because the value is, as you might expect, it's not 1. We didn't write any logic yet to increment that value. So what we're going to do is now increment that value. And the way that we do that is we say that, like, this event here is not just going to have the socket. It's probably going to want to do something with the data that is stored on the socket, on the assigns. So these sockets, like I just said, if we take a look at maybe one of the errors that came in here, we can see that the sockets have, where is it? Oh, this is the wrong one. Yeah. Okay. So the sockets has this assigns, sorry, attribute here. And that is just like a map with a bunch of different things that we can use. None of those are gonna like be things that we can increment on really, unless we do something really weird, but we're not gonna do something that weird yet. So let's do, let's add something to the socket. You can add to that assigns and use whatever you add to the assigns. So I haven't gone into it yet, but this mount function basically is called when the live is initially mounted to the page. And so we're probably going to want to do something here so that we set our socket up with a variable that's assigned to it that we can use to increment off of. And the default of that is going to be probably 0. Luckily, we have a test for that already. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm not going to change the handle event. I'm actually going to try to see if I can get this test right here to still pass after I do this. So I can change this variable here, and it's just going to be, all right, now we can name this whatever we want. Any ideas?
Counter,
Ooh, what was that? I heard a voice that wasn't Audie's.
counter, but yeah, count, what was I saying?
Count? All right, beautiful. We'll call it count. So we've got this count. The reason that we can call just the @count here is because this leaks LiveView Elixir like HTML file is capable of like just directly accessing what the socket assigns. So not doing any magic there. So we do that. Our server is probably crashing. You are probably unhappy if you're on that URL I shared a little earlier. You might not be actually, I'm not really sure. So here we are, our tests are failing, that's wonderful. And now I can tell that you're definitely not happy because the first test is also failing. So it's trying to hit that, it's trying to render that assigns value. And it's like, hey, the socket doesn't have anything called count in it. So what's going on? So what we're going to do is we're going to get those tests to pass again by assigning to the socket. And I don't know how to do that. So let's see if LiveView can tell us. And this is LiveView test. So I actually just want to go to LiveView. And we're going to look for, let's see here, functions maybe. Assign kind of sounds right to me. So let's just use the 3 tuple. You can pass a map or you can pass 3 separate arguments. I'm going to just pass, since we only have one thing that we're assigning right now, I'm going to go the 3 argument approach. So we're going to use count, which is the name of our assigns. And we're going to assign that to the socket assigns, and we're going to assign it a value of 0. So now we're going to write this. The server is looking a lot happier, at least. Let's run these tests. And we got back to the 1 being the test that's failing. So, you know, I could look at that view and see that like this test is actually doing what it's supposed to, but I'm pretty sure it is. So the next part is to get this 0 to turn into a 1. And the way that we can do that, now that we have this count here in the socket assigns, is we can modify that value when this event is triggered. So I am going to actually make a little helper method, and I'm going to call it all this event's called increment. So I'm going to call it increment maybe. And what that is going to do is it's going to take the socket and it's going to say, oops, nope. The increment is going to actually update the socket's assigns count to have 1 more than it had before it got into this function. So we're going to do assign again. And this is going to be socket count, socket assigns count plus 1. So now that we have that, I can just say that this doesn't return the socket. Oh, by the way, assign here, if it wasn't obvious, it because of the lack of a failure, it would have failed if our method signature was wrong, but assign socket returns the assigned socket. So now that we've done that, just going to write that, run our test, and let's see what happens. Great. So it's looking for a value of 1. It's asserting that that value is a 1. But it's not getting it. Let's see here. So did I do this right? So we've got count. Increment is hit. I call increment socket. Socket is here.
Do you want to see if it hits the handle event just to make sure?
You're so right. So let's do some fire logger. Logger info, let's do, I don't know.
Here.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Here?
Go for it, Josh. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it. No, here is just great. So let's see if it hits that. Hey, definitely didn't hit that. So I wonder what is going on there. So it's not getting here. So how about, you know, what about here? All right. And I must record, oh yeah, because of how this order matters. I've been doing too much Ruby. So let's do this, and we are getting, let's see here. Sorry. You're not getting there either. So what is going on? We are rendering a click. We're clicking our button. it should be firing off that increment action, but it's not. Did I name something wrong?
Does render click return the view, or does it return something else?
Render click.
Because it looks like if you look at it, attempted to call has element, right? And it's saying the first part isn't a view. If you scroll up in the error.
Right, I think it returns the HTML.
Okay.
So I think we actually do this and it updates the view, like it's mounted. That's why I think I had it there before. But there we go.
Wait.
Okay, that was confusing. Apologies. So now it's telling me that my logger, that I'm not using logger like somebody that uses logger in the year 2021. Oh, and I'm passing single quoted strings, which is not an Elixir thing either. So there we go. Our test is passing. Maybe we can take a peek, and this isn't really TDD, but oh man, that's looking great. It is incrementing. And we have a test that says it's incrementing. So this is all great. It is, we have about 15 minutes left. I was gonna say I can go into like another button if you want. I don't think that is gonna be super exciting. It's a lot of the same stuff. But I did want a chance to, before I have to leave at 7, riff off of any ideas that you have. Does anybody have any ideas that would make TDPLVD, the next unicorn?
Should we show this value to all people? Synchronized?
Synchronized. Okay, so you want me to get into some of the PubSub stuff? Sure. So let's do that. I did try to figure out if there was like a good way to test that kind of stuff. And I think that there are some methods there. I'm less comfortable with them. If anybody like wants to walk me through that in any way that they've tested it, we can do that. Otherwise, I can just kind of try to drive through this and explain as I go. Does anybody have a preference?
Hey, Josh, I do have a quick question. If
Yeah.
So you said that it updates the view. I don't in the test when you call render click. How could it even do that? So you're saying it updates the binding? Like what?
This right here?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that this view is like bound now, and so it has like the socket is updated on the view.
Right, but we need to assign it to something, right? Like without assigning it, we're not update what view. You know what? Maybe has element is lazy. I'm just seeing that. Maybe it is render click registers an event and has element. Like when you call has element, maybe that's why when it gets. Maybe that's when it
has element under the hood is using that element thing to find, and it like uses this to find it, but yeah, right, I didn't go into the internals of how render click works.
Yeah, but isn't it weird? Because like in Elixir, you have to assign something to something for it to update. You cannot.
It is, yeah. Usually it's that mutability,
Right. Okay. It just confused me, and I'm sorry to throw you off. I was one to say you should assign it to the view. I'm really sorry about that.
This is the part where I'm hoping folks like, I'm going into uncharted waters here. I want people to like throw me off and suggest things. So I think that is like perfectly fine. So yeah, I would have to look into the internals of how that render click thing works, which I haven't done, but let's, I mean, that could be an exercise for the viewer of this talk, or I can, next meetup, I can kind of tell everybody how that investigation went, but I think in the 12 minutes I have left, I might be able to get it to where everybody's kind of clicks increment alongside each other. So let's see here. What we're going to do is we're going to leverage, I'm not going to go into the documentation as much because I don't think I'll be able to get things done in 12 minutes, but yeah, if I need to explain anything in more detail than I am while I'm writing it, please stop me. I'll just say that much. So Phoenix ships with something called Phoenix PubSub. I'm thinking we just use that. We can go about this like a bunch of different ways, basically, but I'm just gonna maybe take what's out of the box that comes with Phoenix. So I think another thing that we're going to do is like when you, so PubSub is like a publish and subscribe like tool. And I think what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to update our mount function to where when view is mounted, we want to see if like the socket is connected. And if it is, we want to start up the PubSub, or we want to subscribe to that to like a topic. So the topic, the first thing that we're going to want is like, what topic are we like going to be subscribing to? That's just going to be a string usually, or I think maybe just a string. So I think what we're going to be subscribing to is like the count, maybe. Let's be super cool and just call it the count. And I think there was is connected. So it's either is connected or connected. I'm going to check the docs real quick. Oh, connected. Great. So connected takes a socket and sees if it's connected. So yeah, not much to it. Connected. So it doesn't start doing things unless it's connected. So if it's connected, we are going to use Phoenix PubSub. All right. And we are going to subscribe to our, and the first argument that you pass to Phoenix PubSub subscribe is the PubSub server, which I think is going to be DPLVD, the context PubSub, which when I generated the app, this was generated. Or should have been. I haven't, like I said, I'm kind of in uncharted waters, so we'll see. We're going to pass the, I believe, let's see, actually, let's see PubSub. Let's not be too dumb here. Oh wait, it's probably going to be in this list of modules. Or not. Oh, this is LiveView, that's why PubSub. PubSub, there we are. This is what I want. Great. So subscribe, PubSub, and then a topic. Is that it? All right, let's do it. So the topic's going to be our topic, right? Whew. All right, so we've got ourselves subscribing to this, the count. And I'm just going to say that when this increment is called, it is broadcasting. So the other side of subscribing, you're subscribing to broadcasted events. So I'm just gonna copy this. I'm not gonna use that connect again, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, this increment right here is responsible for maybe at some point broadcasting to the topic. And what these broadcast are actually events. So the topic is this argument, and the event is going to be something that looks kind of like this, where we've got like a key value going on, or a 2-element tuple. So the topic is going to remain the same because that's what we know we're subscribed to. I'm going to take this do out of here. I am going to just put a here for now. It might not be the right place. Again, I'm riffing, and we're going to say that this is maybe a count increased, maybe, or count incremented, right? That makes a little more sense. And what that does, that's the name of the event. And then we can pass, the data that goes along with that. Let's see, what do we want to call this? Let's just use socket assigns count +1. I don't know. And since we're adding 1 to here, well, let's just do this dumb way. I like doing this dumb way first. So this should fail because this increment here is going to, it's not subscribe. We want it to broadcast. it's trying to broadcast the topic. When you broadcast something, it just doesn't go out into the ether. We need to make sure that our view is capable of handling those events that it's subscribed to. And so let's say the way that we do that is with handle info, which is just like, you know, the gen server handle info. It's we're going to take in, I think, oh man, why am I blanking right now? Handle info. Oh, sorry, what was that?
Event.
All right, great. Yes, it's the event, and I think it's the event and the
Socket, I think.
Is it the socket or the value?
I think socket.
I think the socket is one of the arguments, though. Is it the event and the value?
Oh, I thought it was just the event, but
I think it is the event, but I think it's this tuple that comes in and we can pattern match up. So I think it's like the event. Let's just see, right? Let's do
sure,
our logger.info. We'll say event is event, and val is val. And I don't know, let's go to our app, and it is broke. Undefined function connected. What did I do? Yep. There we go. All right, so I'm going to click on this. Let's see what happened. We're going to go to server, see what we got here. Okay, got okay. Expected one of these. Oh, that's right. Handle info. Oops. Down here is going to not return the logger, what the logger returns. It's got to return this, basically. So let's do that. So we're going to go to break. No, we're going to go to my terminal. We're going to return what the expected value was, which is like the reply and the socket. And let's say that this is what happens. No, let's just do this for now. Let's just do this. All right. Let's click this. Hey, count incremented. Somebody's hitting this. Lots of people are hitting this. Great. So count incremented. We're hitting it. People are hitting it. Great. It's getting to 2, I think. Wow, that's exciting. Is it actually though? No. I think that's because what we want to do is we want to update the socket in our handle info so that everybody can see it. So let's see here. Handle info is going to maybe update is like an assign, except for it updates the count only if it's there already in the assigns. And let's say it's going to be socket.assigns.count. I don't know, +1. Sure. So let's see. Probably not right, but nope.
Why can't you just assign there, Josh?
Oh, because it hasn't incremented yet. Oh,
but the value you sent was +1. Oh.
Yeah, we can.
So you don't need to do +1 again on line 22, right? Because you sent +1.
Oh, the value, right? I sent the value. That's why I did that. All right. See,
right.
This is the dangers of doing this when. All right. Well, that did its thing. Hey, look at it. People are clicking, or we got something very, very, very wrong.
I don't know. I'm not clicking.
Folks clicking. All right. Well, it's either that or we've discovered some aberrant behavior I've never seen before. So I'm hoping
this is awesome
for clicking. And I can't believe I did that in 12 minutes, but I did it with your help, obviously. So yeah, thank you so much for pairing with me. So before I have to hop off, I will stop sharing my screen. I have a version of this library with some branches that have different names for the variables than we use today. but it's basically the same thing. So if you want to go through and mess around with anything that we looked at today, you can do that. And I just stopped the server too. So if you were clicking away, I apologize. But yeah, I'll throw that up. I'll throw the link into the chat right now. And that is it for me. That's how you write really simple tests for really simple stuff in Phoenix LiveView.
That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks for pairing with me, everybody. It was fun. So let me just throw this here. Sorry, I can't stay for a Q&A session, but yeah, it was a pleasure and volunteer to talk. It was funner than maybe it looked. All right. Well, have a great night, everybody. I will talk to you later.
Thanks, Josh. And again, just to take that cue from Josh, anyone wants to give a talk, I'll paste my email again in the chat. Please reach out. Yeah, we're gonna bring back Boston Elixir. So
yes.
awesome.
Yes. All right.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Lottie. Have fun,
So,
everybody.